Hi, this is Mallikarjun, lecturer in Mechanical Engineering, GMRP Woodnur. The subject I am going to deal in this video session is engineering materials. Subject to code 18M305C. We are in dealing with the fifth unit. That is heat treatment. In the previous video, we have discussed about the TTT diagrams, in which we have understood the transformation of austenite into various microstructures like perlite, coarse perlite, fine perlite, then sorbite, then trustite, and then upper bainite and lower bainite, and finally martensite. So we understood how to acquire these microstructures using TTT diagrams, and we also discussed about the advantages of the TTT diagram. And in this video we will be discussing about the decomposition of austenite and continuous cooling transformation. In the previous video we have discussed about a constant temperature isothermal transformation, that is at constant temperature we have discussed the decomposition of austenite into perlite, that is ferrite plus cementite, and the fine structures of austenite transforming into fine perlite and sorbite, which is again a fine structure of perlite and trustite and upper bainite and lower bainite. So we discussed, so in that we have only transformed austenite at constant temperature. Time temperature transformation is also called as isothermal transformation process. So in that we have discussed how the austenite decomposed. But in this particular video we will be discussing about how the austenite decomposes into various microstructures like perlite or upper bainite or lower bainite based on continuous cooling curve. So in continuous cooling curve, the same TTT diagrams are used, but the cooling pattern is different. Only the cooling pattern is different. Other than that, uh, everything is same. So that is, TTT diagrams are useful in respect of heat treatment as they give the nature of transformed products of austenite it has a great heat treatment process such as Aus tempering and Mar tempering. In practice, transformation occurs during continuous cooling. Continuous cooling transformation diagram relates the transformation temperature and the time during continuous cooling. So this diagram shows, so in the previous diagram there is a horizontal line at the starting of the uh, transformation of austenite, whereas in uh, continuous cooling transformation we can see the cooling line is continuously coming downwards, indicating that the transformation is taking place during continuous cooling process. So therefore we can get the same microstructure, whatever the microstructure we get in the TTT diagrams, isothermal transformation, the same microstructure we can get even here, but not as accurate as the isothermal transformation process. So CCT curves are drawn in similar way as TTT diagram, except that in case of CCT diagrams, point start and end of austenite transformation are recorded on continuous cooling curves. This is what I have been discussing. In this, what happens is the transformation is not occurring at constant temperature. That is the main difference between the isothermal transformation and the continuous cooling transformation. It is purely on continuous basis. So during the transformation, cooling process continuously takes place. So that is the main difference here. So in continuous cooling, the transformation occurs not at single temperature but at varying temperature. So this is a little practical than the uh, So the higher the cooling rate, the degree of supercooling of austenite to decompose it to ferrite and cementite mixture takes place. At further higher cooling rate, not all of the austenite has enough time to decompose at a high temperature with the formation of the ferrite cementite mixture. A part of it is supercooled to point M and it transformed into martensite. This is the major difference. This is the major difference between the isothermal transformation and the continuous cooling transformation. In isothermal transformation, the entire austenite gets converts into the required martensite, required microstructure. Whereas in continuous cooling transformation, there will be a chance of having retained austenite. So therefore, continuous cooling curve has more retained austenite than the isothermal transformation. In isothermal transformation, we are waiting for the austenite to totally convert into the required microstructure. So that is the main difference between the CCT and the TTT diagrams. So at even further higher rate of cooling, austenite decomposition into ferrite cemented mixture by diffusion will be impossible. So all of the austenite will be supercooled to point M and will be transformed into martensite. So that shows the escaping of the nose in this diagram. In this diagram shows that if further, if it is a slow cooling, the top line indicates a slow cooling, and if it is further high rate of cooling, then the bottom line, and further high rate of cooling, then it is escaping the nose, slightly escaping the nose, and further higher rate of cooling, then it is totally away from the nose of the curve. And as the cooling rate is increased, the austenite is super cooled to the martensitic temperature, and total whatever austenite present in it will be totally converted into martensite. So that is the big difference between the TTT diagram and the time temperature transformation diagram. So this shows slow cooling gives coarse perlite, a little faster cooling gives fine perlite, and here then upper bainite and lower bainite and then martensite. So this is the major difference. So as isothermal decomposition of austenite, the lower the decomposition temperature, the higher the rate of cooling, the more dispersed the ferrite mixture will be. Thus, at a low cooling rate, the decomposition temperature, that is, the higher the rate of cooling, the more dispersed the ferrite cementite mixture will be. So, thus, at a low cooling rate, perlite will be formed, and at a higher rate, sorbite, and still higher rate, trustite, and still higher rate, martensite is formed. So, this is the basic difference in isothermal. Whereas in this continuous cooling curve, there will be a chance of having more retained austenite. So that is the major difference we have to keep in the mind. And then if we continuously cool the steel from the austenitic phase to the required microstructure phase, then there is a chance of developing internal stresses called as residual stresses. And because of these stresses, during the service conditions, there is a chance for the material to get failed. So therefore, these internal stresses to be eliminated. In order to eliminate these internal stresses developed during the uneven cooling process will be the purpose of annealing. uh, we will is to relieve these internal stresses. So the purpose of annealing is to remove the stresses which are developed during cold working or hot working, but also in order to convert or transform the retained austenite completely into the required microstructure is done by annealing or any other procedure. So this heat treatment process is required for any kind of internal stresses developed during cold working or hot working or uneven cooling. So this is the major uh, uh, purpose for any steel to undergo heat treatment process. So now uh, we will be discussing about what is annealing. The process of heating steel to an appropriate temperature for certain period of time and then slowly cooling in the furnace itself is called annealing. The purpose of annealing is to obtain softness, improve machinability, increase or restore ductility and toughness, and relieve internal stresses and reduce or eliminate structural inhomogeneity and refinement of grain size, and to prepare steel for subsequent heat treatment. These are the uh, purpose of the annealing. So annealing is done to get a stress-free grain structure. If stresses are developed in this uh, steel, then it gets failed during the service conditions. So in order to avoid the failure during the service conditions, the steel should undergo heat treatment process, and that heat treatment process is one of the heat treatment process adopted on this steel is annealing. So annealing is a process of heating the steel to the austenitic region and then slowly cooling in the furnace in order to restore the ductility and toughness and relieve the internal stresses. So depending upon the specific purpose, annealing processes are classified as full annealing, process annealing, spheroidized annealing, and isothermal annealing. So we'll be discussing before discussing this uh, four annealing processes. Let us go through the first annealing process, that is full annealing. In full annealing, heating a hypoeutectoid steel 30 degrees to 50 degrees above the critical point and holding it that point at the temperature and then slowly cooling to enable the austenite to decompose at low degrees. So for a hypoeutected steel, 30 to 50 degrees centigrade above the AC1 line and holding at this temperature and then slowly cooling to enable the austenite to decompose at low degrees of supercooling so as to form a perlite plus cemented structure, and this is for hypereutectoid steel. The purpose of full annealing is to relieve the internal stresses, to improve machinability, grain refinement, and to reduce hardness and to impart ductility. So, the main concept is around this portion of the iron carbon equilibrium diagram, iron and iron carbide equilibrium diagram. So, this is the bottom left portion of the iron carbon equilibrium diagram, and in this diagram we can clearly see the A3 or AC3 line, and for hypoeutectoid steels this steel is heated above the ACM line and then slowly cooling to the room temperature in the furnace itself. That is, the hatched portion represents the cooling range, heating range, and that hypoeutected steel is heated to above the A3 line and then slowly cooling gives a structure of ferrite plus perlite. The structure that gives ferrite plus perlite is hypoeutectoid steels, carbon containing less than 0.8%. So, whatever the carbon content present around 0.025 to 0.8%, all those carbon steels will form ferrite plus perlite, and uh, for hypereutected steels, that is steels having carbon content more than 0.8% and up to 2%, those steels are not heated above the ACM line. This is the main difference between the hypoeutected steel and hypereutected steel annealing process. In annealing process, hypoeutected steels are heated above the A3 line, but hypereutected steels are heated only above A1 line. The reason behind this is there is a chance of forming proeutectoid cementite during the uh, hyper cooling of hypereutected steels, because if we cool the steel above the ACM line, it has to cross, so whatever the austenite present in the steel remains as it is. The moment it comes below the ACM line, the part of the austenite will convert into cementite. Whatever the carbon present in the austenite come out in the form of carbon and forms a cementite network structure around the grain boundaries, near the grain boundaries. So therefore the hyperutected steels are only heated above the A1 line, and whatever the perlite present in it is converted into austenite, and that austenite is again transformed to perlite. So this is the main reason why hyperutected steels are not heated above the ACM line as it is heated above the A3 line in hypoeutectoid steels. And the structure what we get in this annealing process is a coarse grain structure which contains ferrite and perlite. In coarse grain structures, have high ductility and toughness, but the strength and hardness is very low compared to the normalized structure or hardened structure. We can clearly see the range is mentioned for full annealing. Full annealing is also referred as annealing, simply as annealing, and process annealing is also called as subcritical annealing, and spheroidized annealing is indicated as the ashed area. So now that is what it is written here. In full annealing, heating a hypoeutectoid steel 30 to 50 degrees centigrade above the critical point, that is A3 line, holding at this temperature and then slowly cooling to enable the austenite to decompose at low degrees of cooling to form a ferrite and perlitic structure. So for hypereutectoid steels, what we get is cementite plus perlite. The main difference is that the main difference between hypoeutectoid steel and hypereutectoid steel is, in hypereutectoid steel the structure what we get is perlite plus cementite, and in hypoeutectoid steels is ferrite and cementite. Ferrite and perlite. So the purpose of full annealing is to relieve the internal stresses, to improve machinability and for the grain refinement, and to reduce hardness and to impart ductility. So the main purpose of this full annealing is only to relieve the internal stresses and to restore ductility and uh, impo- uh, and for the grain refinement. So that is the main purpose of full annealing. And the next type of annealing is subcritical annealing. In this type of annealing, steel in this type of annealing, steel is heated to a temperature just above the A1 line, that is about 600 degrees centigrade to 700 degrees centigrade, and holding at this temperature for a prolonged period and then slowly cooling it. I repeat, process annealing or subcritical annealing both are same, and this annealing is carried at a temperature a range of 600 degrees centigrade to 700 degrees centigrade. So in this type of annealing, steel is heated to a temperature just below the A1 line or approximately near the A1 line, and it is hold or held at the temperature for sufficiently prolonged period so that it attains a uniform so that the steel attains uniform temperature throughout its section, and then finally it is cooled in the furnace itself. So this type of annealing is used to relieve internal stresses and to improve machinability of steel. I repeat, to improve the machinability of the steel, process or subcritical annealing is used. To reduce the distortion of the crystal lattice produced by cold working is also employed in co- uh, process annealing or subcritical annealing. So to obtain a homogeneous fine grained structure also, this annealing process is adopted in order to get a stress free grains. In this annealing, no phase change takes place and the presence of ferrite and cement remains unchanged throughout the structure. So here also we can see this process annealing range. In this process annealing range, there will be no change in the pearlitic structure, and finally only the internal stresses are relieved in this process. So these are the four concepts what we have discussed in this video. In the beginning, I have discussed about the isothermal transformation, cooling, that is how the austenite is transformed into perlite or the other microstructures, and the difference between the isothermal transformation and continuous cooling transformation. In continuous cooling transformation, what we have is retained austenite. Uh, High percentage of retained austenite is present in continuous cooling because it is a fast cooling and we are not giving adequate time or appropriate time for the entire austenite to transform into perlite or any other bainite or martensite. Whereas in isothermal transformation, we are giving enough time for the austenite to completely transform into the desired microstructure. So therefore, the main difference between isothermal transformation and continuous cooling transformation will give different properties with same microstructure just because of the presence of retained austenite. So retained austenite is not advisable and it should be avoided as much as possible. So this, to avoid this, isothermal transformation heat treatment is done to get good mechanical properties and to avoid any failure during the service condition of the steel. So the difference here we can see between isothermal transformation and continuous. In isothermal transformation, we can clearly see that we are holding the steel at the constant temperature and we are allowing it to continuously transform into the required microstructure, and then we are quenching it to the room temperature. But whereas in the continuous cooling curve, we are continuously cooling it and we are not quenching it. So it only depends upon how fast we cool. So this is called as cooling rate, and isothermal is different and continuous cooling is different, but the curves that are used in both the processes are TTT curves, that is time temperature transformation curves. So this we should keep in mind. So in this what we have is retained austenite, and because of this retained austenite, some thermal stresses are induced in the metal, and also non-uniformity in the grain size and shape. So to avoid this, we do heat treatment process. That heat treatment process is called as annealing process. In annealing, what we do is we will heat the steel to annealing to austenitic phase, and then we slowly cool it in the furnace so that all the internal stresses developed during the critical cooling rate or any cold working process or any hot working process, and the change in the grain size and shape will be restored, and any change in the mechanical properties will also restore during the annealing process. So that is the main purpose of annealing. So what is annealing? The process of heating steel to an appropriate temperature, especially austenitic phase temperature, that is more than above the line of above A3 line. Above A3 line, the phase what we have is austenitic phase, and in austenitic phase we we take the steel to the austenitic phase, and we heat that steel at that temperature, and we hold it there for sufficient long period, and then we slowly cool then we'll just simply switch off the furnace so that the metal will slowly cool in the furnace itself, giving a coarse grain structure which relieves all the internal stresses during which developed during cold working or hot working. So the main purpose of annealing is to obtain softness, improve machinability, increase or restore ductility and toughness, relieve internal stresses, reduce or eliminate structural inhomogeneity and grain refinement, and to prepare steels for any further subsequent heat treatment processes. So that is the main purpose of the annealing. So annealing is of four types, that is full annealing, process annealing, spheroidized annealing, and isothermal annealing. So we will see what is full annealing. We already discussed what is full annealing, but I once again recap what is full annealing and what is process annealing. So in full annealing, heating a hypoeutected steel 30 degrees to 50 degrees above the A3 line and holding the steel at the temperature for sufficiently long period, and then slowly cooling to enable the austenite to decompose at low degrees of supercooling so as to form a perlite plus ferrite structure. So for hypoeutectoid steels, what we get is ferrite plus perlite. And for hypereutector steels, we discussed we heat the steel, hypereutector steel 30 to 50 degrees centigrade above the A1 line. Please note that in hypoeutector steels we are heating the steel above the A3 line, and in hypereutected steel we are heating the steel above the A1 line. So this is the major difference. And the second difference is in hypoeutected steel the structure what we get is ferrite plus perlite, and in the hypereutected steel the structure what we get is hyper cementite plus perlite. So these are the two differences between the hypoeutected steel and hypereutected steel which we have to keep in mind during the heat treatment process. And the purpose of full annealing is to relieve the internal stresses and to improve machinability, grain refinement, and to reduce hardness and to impart ductility. Whereas in the subcritical annealing, we can subcritical annealing or process annealing both are same. The steel, there will be no change in any for both the hypoeutected steel and hypereutected steel. The process annealing is conducted just below the A1 line, that is around 600 to 700 degrees centigrade, and holding at this temperature for a prolonged period and then slowly cooling it. And this type of annealing is used to relieve internal stresses and to improve machinability of steel, to reduce the distortion of the crystal lattice produced by cold working, and to obtain homogeneous fine-grained structure. In this annealing, no phase change takes place and the presence of ferrite and cementite remains unchanged. I hope you understood this video, and we will be discussing the remaining annealing processes in the next video. Thank you.